sunglasses anymore? How did they wear? Hey coaches, this one's for you. Join us October 20th to 21st, 2023 at the McKimmon Conference and Training Center at NC State. Our Coaches Conference brings together North Carolina teachers and Science Olympiad coaches. Participants have the opportunity to network with other STEM educators across the state, participate in innovative professional learning experiences centered around current Science Olympiad events and STEM, and cultivate innovation and excellence in STEM learning. This companion guide for coaches was created by one of our biggest Science Olympiad superfans. It is 40 pages of valuable wisdom and expertise and is available to you at your fingertips. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran, this is a great read, which is full of tips and tricks, as well as some often needed motivation. Download yours today. Bite Size SO was created to keep the momentum going during the COVID pandemic. All programming is still accessible on our website and includes unique lessons, activities, resources, and practice tests tailored to certain Division A Science Olympiad events. Visit our website and access Bite Size SO under Resources. You will find archives for Backyard Biologist, Codebusters, Describe It, Build It, and more. Starting in September, look for us on the NCSO Debrief, a monthly Q&A session where we answer all of your burning questions. These sessions are posted on our YouTube channel and go live in our stories on our @NCSci Olympiad Instagram page. Lots of current information shared you won't want to miss. Our fundraising toolkit is available to help generate ideas on how to get started in seeking local fundraising and building awareness. This guide will also help lay the groundwork for researching grant support, which is one of the most stable and sustainable ways to fundraise. No time to create a recruitment flyer? No problem. We've got you covered. Download, edit, print, and go. Division B and C, are you feeling a little left out? Not to worry, your time is coming. Join us as we officially kick off the season for all 3 divisions the week of September 5th. We have something special planned for each day that week, and you won't want to miss it. Registration opens September 1st. Visit our website for registration links, step-by-step instructions, and a how-to video. Make sure you enter our giveaway. We will be giving away a free registration to our coaches conference, a kit full of event supplies, and a swag bag full of NCSO branded items. To enter, you can 1. Share your school or team name in the live chat, and 2. Get an extra entry when you submit a question for our live Q&A coming up in just a few minutes. Winners will be announced at the end of the live Q&A. Take some time now to share your school name and ask a question in the chat. We are thrilled to have you with us for another exciting season of North Carolina Science Olympiad. We are so happy you are here. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our official kickoff of our Division A Science Olympiad season for 2023 and 2024. We are so excited to have you with us today. I am Lisa Giacomelli. I'm the Director of North Carolina Science Olympiad, and it is a party after all. So I brought with me some of my closest friends. Hey, Alonzo.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Doing pretty well. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Oh, I am excited. I am ready to rev up my engine, right, for the start of the Division A season.
So excited. It's going to be so great. It's going to be the most amazing season yet. Hey, Jason.
Hey, Lisa. Great to be here. Alonzo and I just got off the track. I won as usual.
Come on. You always win, but we put up a good fight, don't we, Alonzo?
I do my best, but whenever I get out there, my tires just don't seem to have any air in them.
Always excuses. Always excuses.
We don't accept excuses, Alonzo. You know that.
That's right.
So we're excited to be here for our live Q&A session. Please submit your questions in the chat. It'll increase your chances of winning one of our giveaways, and we have some good stuff to give away. But do we have any questions out there yet, Alonzo? Take a look. Let us know.
All right. So it's time to hear from you all. We're going to get started with some questions. And I think the first question is the one that is the most common question that we always get. And it's, how do I get started in build events? Jason, you want to take that?
That's a great question.
Yeah. I'd love to take that one. Mainly because I do a lot of build events. I'm an event leader for a lot of build events, national event supervisor for both ping pong, parachute, and bottle rocket, and work with a lot of great event leaders in our state and across the country, and talk to them a lot about what goes right and what goes wrong come competition day for builded events. Some of these things are pretty much common sense, but I'm shocked every regional tournament and state tournament about the number of kids that end up with devices that aren't following the rules. So let me just say the first thing everyone should do, and the rules are going to be released today for elementary, so you're going to have them in your hands, is download the rules and read the rules over and over again. Ask questions to your coach if you're not sure what a certain rule means. Attached to those rules, especially for the elementary division, is a score sheet. It's the same score sheet that our event leaders are going to use. And so you want to make sure that you understand what that score sheet says is required and what you must bring with you. If it says you need to wear safety glasses, then you definitely should bring safety glasses with you to the competition. And so it's really important. This year, for example, we have pasta tower in this set of rules. We have ping pong parachute, both really kind of technical events that have very specific rules and requirements related to the design that you can have. But I always tell students the first thing to do after reading the rules is to go look for real life examples. Pasta tower, you can go out and just look around at towers. You can look at cell phone towers. You can look at all sorts of ways of building things that real engineers have done it, and they can give you some really good tips about how to build your tower, for example, in this case. Probably the biggest thing I see, especially with rule like a bottle rocket or ping pong parachute, is they're made the night before. You don't want to make a build design event the night before. Please don't do that. You want to start your first prototype now. In fact, I'd say in the next 30 days, you should have a prototype. It may be a messy prototype. It may be terrible, but that's fine because you have plenty of time to work on it, and you want to continue improving that design every single week up to the competition. You want to have a regular practice. You want to take notes on what you learn. I tell people all the time, most students have a cell phone. You can take slow motion video of that tower breaking. You can see exactly where it's breaking, how to make it stronger, where the weak points are. Same thing with ping pong parachute. You can actually do slow motion video. You can see how the rocket's either veering to the left or the right. What can I do to make that stronger? To make sure it goes straight up. And so always asking the question, how can I improve my design? And getting slow-mo video is a great way to do that. As much as possible, continue testing and breaking your device. Think about safety all the time. Safety, safety, safety. Wear those safety glasses. Be safe as possible in all your practicing. We want to model that no matter whether we're at school or in our garage or at home. And get help, reach out and ask your parents, ask engineers, ask other people if they have ideas. But just let me throw out there, just to end this on the build event, because I've given you already some tips. Well, let me just speak to ping pong parachute, since that's one of my babies and I love it. I already said, don't make that thing the night before. All right. This year is 1 liter or less. right? So your bottle has to be 1 liter or less. Don't come with a 2-liter bottle. You're automatically going to be put in tier 2 if you show up with a 2-liter bottle, for example. So 1 liter or less. Make sure the bottle is carbonated. All right, it has to be a carbonated. If you show up with a water bottle that's real plasticky and you can push it real easy and it sounds crinkly, then that's not good. It has to be a carbonated beverage bottle. Don't forget to bring those bottle labels if you take it off as well. That'll also put you in tier 2. Make sure your fins are 5 centimeters higher or above the level of the bottle's opening. That's so it can fit on the launcher. Do not put any glue on the pressure vessel. That's when you stick it down on the launcher, the part that the air comes into, you get that compression there. It's got to make sure that has no glue on it. It causes chemical reaction. It heats up. Don't cut that pressure vessel. Don't do anything to that pressure vessel. Don't add glue. You only use tape on that. No metal anywhere on the rocket, please. And this year, you got to have 2 things. Don't let the ping pong parachute hit the ceiling. It can't hit the ceiling. Mm-hmm. If it hits the ceiling, automatic tier 3, you're going to be like at the bottom. So that's key. The other thing is the ping pong and the parachute need to separate from the rocket. So they need to separate from the rocket. We're timing not the bottle coming down, but the ping pong when it touches the ground. And so you got to make sure it separates. If it doesn't separate, that'll also put you in tier 2. So no parts hitting the ceiling. Make sure it separates. Make sure you use the right size bottle, and practice. All right, that's my tips.
That was awesome, Jason. Listen, I just want to add, as a coach, as a former coach who has lived through ping pong parachute many times, you need to think about how, well, not even just ping pong parachute, but any build event, how are you going to transport your devices to competition?
Yes.
Because they ride along in the car. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 2 hours, especially thrill seekers, the roller coaster event, that thing is going to shift and move, and it is going to be different from when you left your school. So you have to think about that when you're designing and building. Don't build it out of something that isn't sturdy, because it has to be transported to the competition site, and think about how you can protect it to get it there well. And when you get there, make sure you test it to make sure it still works the way you think it does.
One other tip too, I just remembered, especially with Pasta Tower, and I see this with Bridge, you're trying to build a device that is light as possible to hold the most weight. I see many students come in with what I call monstrosities. They are huge. They could hold me. Okay, you want that tower to break. You want it to break, and sometimes a tower that breaks right at 10 kilograms, for example, but as light as possible, you're going to get a much higher structural efficiency. So make sure you understand, a lot of times kids are holding 10 kilograms, but their bridge is so heavy that the structural efficiency is really low. And so that's really key. Understand what structural efficiency means and build the lightest possible tower that'll hold the most weight. Don't build the heaviest tower that'll hold just the 10 kilograms. That's not the right way to go about it. So that's another little tip there for Pasta Tower.
That's a really good point. And I just want to shout out Jason for a minute, because we're really fortunate here in North Carolina to have him. Jason, tell us your background a little bit with ping pong parachute. Can you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been doing bottle rocket event for, I think, almost 20 years, at the national event level. One of the things we kept hearing from the northern schools was that they couldn't do bottle rocket because the water would freeze when they went out. So there was a real interest in doing an inside bottle rocket event. And so my friends at Nerds Inc., we got together. There's some great folks over in Nebraska that I work with a lot. And we created this event called Ping Pong Parachute I think it was probably about 10 years ago that we created this event. To really help those teams in the cold states that want to do it inside. And so, but shout out to Jake Weinmiller and his wife and Nerds Incorporated that helped us build this event. And, but yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun to create it. And so hopefully the elementary folks will enjoy it this year. It is tough. You can only go up to 40 PSI. Okay. Only 40 PSI. So, be sure about that. Yeah, we got a new event too called Just Plain Awesome. That's going to be an awesome event that we've done. We've trialed that a couple times at the middle and high school version, but get those AMA kits and start practicing now, because this is an event you can really trim your plane to fly a good amount of time. But it's a lot of fun, and you'll enjoy this one a lot too. again, but it's all about practice too. Practice, practice, practice is the only way you'll do well at these events.
That's right. So we have an incredible resource here at our fingertips, is my point, in Jason. So if you have any ping pong parachute questions, he's the guy, and he's right here for all of us. So we're very fortunate.
Wow, that is a lot of great information, both from Jason, of course, and you too, Lisa. You got a lot of experience from the coaching side and now as our executive director. So thanks so much for that experience. And remember, folks, that was a lot of information. Maybe you didn't catch it all this time. This stream will be available. It'll be there. You didn't have to rush and grab a notepad and try to write everything down. You can replay it and see Jason's beautiful bald head as many times as you need to. So you'll be able to get all of these facts if you go back and watch the video later once it's posted. So let's keep moving with our questions, because I know we're getting a bunch in the chat. Lisa, folks want to know about the Coaches Clinic. How will it work being part virtual?
Yeah, so this was a goal of ours since I came on board. You know, it's really ideally, everybody would travel to Raleigh and be all together in person. I don't know that that's realistic because not everyone can travel that far. Not everyone has the resources to do that. But this is a really important professional development opportunity that all of our coaches need to have access to. So this year, first of all, we're moving the location, which we're super excited about. We're moving actually to NC State, to the McKimmon Center. And we're also offering the virtual component to it as well. So two different registration options that you have. You have the in-person registration, you have the virtual registration. You're getting similar things, but hopefully you can pick one or the other depending on your needs. There will be networking opportunities, obviously in person, versus we do hope to provide some optional virtual networking opportunities that day. The perk of the virtual option is you can kind of engage on your own schedule. You'll have access to the videos and all the presentations, so you don't have to be accessible that day if you can't be. Regardless of whether you're in person or virtual, you're going to have access to our shop to shop our event supplies. If you're virtual, you'll get a sweet discount code to shop our online store. And regardless of which option you choose, you will have access to all the content afterwards. So if you're coming in person, you'll have access to all of the virtual content afterwards. And if you're joining virtually, you'll obviously have access to that too. So I hope it's a better option that will meet more needs and we can see more people having access to this, because it is invaluable as a coach to attend this conference in one way or another and gain the resources and just talk to the experts for all of these events. Not only does it provide you with a wealth of knowledge and a leg up for the season, but you build those connections with people and you realize, hey, there's a lot of people out there doing this just like me. And you can keep in touch afterwards and support each other and ask questions of each other. It's just a great opportunity. So come on out and join us. It's going to be great. And we're going to make sure you're caffeinated and have all the coffee you need, because we know that's important too.
Very good. And maybe there'll even be tea for people like me, right?
Oh, the tea people. Okay. Yep. Noted.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Just another example of North Carolina Science Olympiad trying to reach coaches and players where they are and give them the resources that they need to be successful. That's so right. We've got another question here about the number of students per team. Someone saw that there were 15 students per team, but they wonder, is there a minimum number of students that they would need to compete?
I'm glad you asked this question. So that is a change for 2024. It is 15 students per team for Division A. It used to be 18. We changed it for a lot of reasons. Division BC is 15 students per team. So that consistency from elementary on up is important. We've also, over the past few years, have reduced the number of elementary events. So reducing the number of students per team helps us have more students be involved in various events. 18 seemed like too many kids not being able to participate in certain events. So hopefully that 15 number will be better. If you have more than 15, you're very welcome to throw in a JV team. So we hope to see a lot of positives come from this. Jason, do you have anything to add on that? The change to 15?
No, I think that's great. Yeah, you can definitely have fewer than 15, but up to 15 is the max. So yeah, you got it perfect.
And I think to be competitive and to cover all events, right? Because there's 2 kids per event. You've got 15 events. You can do the math. I'm not going to do the math live, but I I would say 10 to 12 students would be a good number to shoot for, a minimum number if you can't have a full 15. How's that sound, Jason? Does that sound right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's up to, each event, you could have, one student, you don't have to have, it just says up to 2 students, or some events are 3 students. But you can't have 1 student to cover an event. But as Lisa said, you do want to try to cover all the events, because there is a penalty or a no-show in an event. You get the number of teams competing in the tournament +1. And so that's a large penalty. And so if you want to try to finish well as a whole team, the more events you cover without no-shows, the better.
Yeah, I mean, if you have kids available, send them in there. Let them go experience that event. It's an experience. They don't have to necessarily place in that event, but it's better to get them involved and give them a chance to try it, even if they're not as fully prepared as you want them to be.
That sounds good. All right. So we did a poll earlier, and I hear we've got some of the poll results back. We asked you all about what piece of North Carolina Science Olympiad merch you wanted to see come back. I'm sure you're excited to get the results back. Leading the way, slap bracelets, 55%. People want to see the slap bracelets come back. Lisa, do you remember the slap bracelets?
I absolutely do. That was my pick. I picked the slap bracelets. I don't know if I was supposed to vote, but I totally did, because I'm invested in this. But I will say the scrunchies are a close second. I don't know. I like the scrunchies a lot too.
That's right. Scrunchies were a close second in the poll. I know you guys can tell I love a good scrunchie. I think they're pretty cool. So slap bracelets, scrunchies. Okay, we hear you folks. You'll just have to wait to see what comes back. But we hear you. Slap bracelets and scrunchies, very popular among our group here today. All right, let's move on to the next question. There's a question about tournaments. The folks want to know, what happens when a tournament doesn't have a minimum of 10 teams?
So that's a great question. So let me explain this one a little bit. Mm-hmm. So in order to host a decent tournament, a competitive tournament, we have to have a minimum number of teams competing in that tournament, right? Otherwise, you have no one to compete against, right? And we have hosted some very, very, very small tournaments in the past, and the experience is just not the same. So it is our goal to have at least 10 teams competing in every tournament that we run. Is that realistic? I honestly do not know, but I do know that we're going to do everything we can to try to recruit teams to try to fill those tournaments up. That is always our goal, is to get more teams involved. If for some reason the tournament date is approaching and we don't have 10 teams in there, we're going to find them somewhere to compete. It's not like we are just going to straight up cancel their event and not give them a second choice or another opportunity. Everyone will get to compete who wants to compete. It's just a matter of us trying to give them as rich of an experience as possible and make it worth their while. You don't want to compete against 2-3 teams.
Yeah. Jason, can I ask you, if you're recruiting teams for an event, what's some things from your history? How best can you go about recruiting teams?
Yeah, I mean, as Lisa said, we're going to really work with each tournament director and people that really want to run these tournaments. We'd like to have, like you said, really robust tournaments. And so if there's 2 or 3 or 4 tournaments within the same region, then we really want to work with them to try to maybe combine if there is a participation issue. But with our directors, we really want to help them recruit local schools and make them be as regional. We don't want to have teams have to travel, far distances to get to an elementary tournament. And so really folks that are participating in tournaments should reach out to people in their own district, their own system, or adjacent counties and systems to see if we can get the numbers up. So we could really use your help. So if it looks like the tournament's not making, we're obviously going to work as hard as we can to reach out to schools in that area to make sure it does happen, to let them know the fun and the excitement they're missing in not participating in an Olympiad, because it's such a great event. So yeah, I mean, just letting them know the fun, showing them this session, maybe kind of help them get excited about it, get them to the website, get them to the coaches clinic, or at least check the virtual thing. And so, the more we can just get the word out, it's still surprising to me how many schools do not know Olympiad exists in our state. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of them, they just don't know. And also, and it's a time, for teachers especially, that it's another added thing to their schedule. We want to show them how it does support the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. It really supports students learning and getting excited about science. And that even though it seems like it's an addition, it's really an enhancement to the education of our kids in this state, and really important for kids, especially that don't do sports, to get involved in a team event like Olympiads. There's just so many reasons to get Olympiad started at your school and to make sure our tournaments make. So all those things. And we're always happy to come out and talk to administrators and talk to teachers and parents and whoever at meetings they may have, informational meetings, and try to help convince them to pull the trigger and or start their engine. Maybe that's what we should say. And get going with Olympiad.
Great choice of words there. That's right.
I love it.
Okay, so now we're back to a question about one of the events for this year, Thrill Seekers. Mm-hmm. What materials can students use for Thrill Seekers?
Whatever they want, right? Anything. The rules do not limit you in terms of what you can use. I've seen all kinds of things. I've seen paper roller coasters. I've seen styrofoam roller coasters, wood. But again, this is kind of a finicky event because your device will be so fragile if it's not well built. So your choice of materials, I think, is very important, especially if you're thinking about being very competitive and having to keep in mind that you need to move it from your house to the car, from the car to the school, from the school to the table, and where you choose to compete. Are you going to put your roller coaster on a table to compete? Are you going to let it run on the floor? The kids kind of have that choice. And also something else to think about is the surface that you're competing on level? Because if your roller coaster's leaning ever so slightly one way or another, that ball's going to get stuck. So not really any limits to materials, but you want to be very strategic on what you choose to use. Jason, thoughts?
No, I agree 100%. I don't think I can add anything to that.
And, I want to say, I want the kids to advocate for themselves in terms, they have the choice. Do you want to let your roller coaster run on a table, or do you want to run it on the floor? And bring a little level and check and make sure those surfaces are level before you compete. Because we do our very, very best, and our event leaders do their very best to make sure the surface is level. But at the end of the day, the kids really could be doing that for themselves and saying, hey, I want to put it over here, right in this spot on the floor, because my level tells me that that's the best spot for it to go. And our event leaders will let them do that. So just think about that. Think about that and teach them that process to speak up and kind of be prepared and practice it. Practice having them run their coaster in various locations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all really great advice. The teams have a lot to think about when they're doing this, and it's really important, right, that the students consider all of the different factors that go into making, a successful device. There's a lot of different moving parts, right? So, okay, we've got yeah, exactly right. So, I think we're going to do one more question, and then we're going to give you the results of our next poll. So what about prefab? You talked about using any kind of materials. Can I use then Legos? Could I use Connects pieces? Could I use pieces from an erector set? How do prefab pieces fit into that anything sort of category?
For Thrill Seekers specifically? Yeah, I mean, the rules don't specify that you can't do that. I'm looking right now because I don't want to say anything
We always
wrong.
check the rules. That's right.
Read the rules. That's the number one thing, right? It is wide open, y'all. It's wide open.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't specify anything about that.
Okay. And so while you're looking at that, let me ask you, Jason, there's a related question that someone asked. Are there any events specifically this year where you'd be required to use Connects?
No,
No.
none at all. And just let me speak a couple. Yeah, I saw something in the chat about the launcher for ping pong parachute. And I'll just say, ask if they could use the same launcher as they use for bottle rocket or 3-2-1 blast off. And the answer is it depends. If you have a launcher that you have to use a large stake to put in the ground and then you pull it, and you can't use that in the gym. You know, so you really want something that you can that's push button. That's basically a push button launcher. And we can share some resources on where to find those, but ultimately you want to make sure you're protecting the gym floor. I do want to point out it's only air for ping pong parachute. Do not fill the bottle with water. So just be really, you know, again, we don't want water on a wood floor. We don't want athletic directors calling us, telling us that we ruined their gym floor. So it's just really important that we use the right launcher, but we'll put up in the resources section of the website places you can get the launcher. Depending on what launcher you got, there's a good chance if you got it from Nerds Inc. and it's it has buttons that you can pressurize and then launch, you know, as a red launch button, then those work fine. Ones where you have to pull though could drag across the floor and cause major issues for your gym floor.
I want to speak to that too, and then I'm going to come back to roller coaster. But in the past, when I was coaching this event, I had a pull string launcher, which we used outside, and I had two issues with that. First of all, when you're trying to launch and you're pulling that string, if you don't pull it perfectly, it's going to tilt, and then your rocket's going to go off to the side, which you don't want. Especially for ping pong parachute, you need that thing to go straight up and back down so your parachute deploys nicely, right? So that was an issue. What I did to resolve that, and this is not official, I did not, my husband did. I had him put the launcher in a plastic container and filled it with cement. So then it didn't move and it was heavier, but I still had to put towels down to protect the gym floor and it worked. It worked just fine, but I will definitely say the push button mechanism is so much better because you remove the possibility of it tilting to the side, which throws off your entire launch. And then back to roller coaster. I don't see anything in the rules specifically about materials, but it does say that you can't add any kind of energy to it. So when you drop that ball, it needs to go on its own. For example, it can't have springs, it can't have rubber bands, it can't have magnets or like an elevator of any kind. I'd be very curious to see what that would look like. Like it can't like bring the ball back up and let it go. Once you let it go from the beginning, it has to go on its own. But that's the only restriction that I see in here just from a quick glance. Yeah.
All right. A lot of great information coming through. And now it's time for the results of our latest poll. So we asked, what event kit would you like to purchase the most? Any clues? Any idea, you guys? What do you think finished first?
Super sleuths with the all the powders and stuff provided. That's kind of sweet. It makes your life easy.
I would have thought so too, but nope. Number one by 2-1, model
Just
plane.
plain awesome.
That's
Well,
right.
of
Just
course.
plain awesome. That's right.
You can't do just plain awesome without the plane. I get it. Like
that's right. You need the plane for just plain awesome. That's
you're right. You're right. But the loading block and chain for your tower, that's important too.
That's true. That's true. All right. Speaking of just plain awesome, we got a question related to it. Jason, what safety wear is required for just plain awesome? And I would ask, is there any safety wear that's maybe not required that from your expertise you might recommend?
Well, the number one requirement is safety glasses. All right, because those rubber bands, when you're winding them up, they get very tight, and if they snap, then it can be very dangerous for your eyes. I just want to point out again, like coaches, please make sure that your students are practicing these safety requirements during, when they're at school, when they're practicing with their flights at all times. Many times kids will have them on their head or, around their neck or whatever. So just make sure those safety glasses are there. When you're building the plane, depending on what you do with the plane, there may be some safety requirements. I can't remember if I don't think this kit requires like glue or anything. I can't remember because it's been about 2 years since I built this kit. But if you always want to use safety there as well. If you're using any type of glue, sometimes things break and you have to glue it together. And so sometimes gloves, people can be allergic also if they use gloves. So just be careful with that as well. But the main danger comes from the winder and the rubber band. So, just making sure you're being safe. I wouldn't try not to wind it close to your face or anything like that. Keep it lower and away from your body as much as possible.
That's really good. And definitely collect data. Like every flight you take, every test flight you take, whether it's good or bad or terrific or ugly, write it down. And keep a data log of all of your flights. It's not required. You don't need to turn it in at competition, but it's just a good practice so that you can come back and reference it later and you can look at what's working, what's not working, how you can change it. I think that's one thing. And people wait till the last minute to start actually collecting data and taking test flights. And you should really be doing that from the very beginning.
Yeah. I think the best science, right, is often preceded by lots and lots and lots of what some people see as failure, right? Failed attempts. But really, those are opportunities to learn and get better. So always be learning and getting better. That's the best way to have success. I think that's what I'm hearing you say.
That's right. And then you can see how far you've come and celebrate that. Like, wow, look at this very first test flight I took and it was awful. And here we are.
There you go.
Think about it as failing forward, right? You're failing forward, because you're learning something from every time you fail. And science and engineering is about failures and learning from those failures. And so that's why we say practice, 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 because you're going to fail 100 times before you finally get it where you want it. And that's what all science and engineering is about.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let me ask a question that we saw in the chat related to the kits. So in the past, folks could purchase the kits, right, at Coach's Clinic. Now, you've already talked today, Lisa, about how there'll be a virtual option this year. So how will that impact folks' ability to buy some of the kits? Will there be an online option? And how exactly will the timing for all that work?
That's a great question. So the plane kits you can purchase directly from the link that we put in the rules. They're about $20 a piece. We are going to purchase them in bulk and try to sell them at our clinic so that you can grab a few. I highly recommend getting at least 2 because you're probably going to break 1 or 2 or many. But you can buy the plane kit directly from AMA Alpha. Our kits that we're going to design, like the Super Sleuth kit, the loading block and chain, and like some of the various lab equipment that we'll have, we're also going to put on our online store too. So, and if you're a virtual participant, you get a little discount. We're going to get you a discount code if you're shopping online. So we're going to try to have that accessible to everyone who is, whether they're in person or not at the clinic. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love a good discount.
And yeah, Jason, something we should work on is checking out the rocket launchers with Nerds Inc. to see if there's an option available for purchase for coaches too. A push button option that can be used indoors. We should make a note of that. Yeah,
he has a very specific one for ping pong parachute. I can reach out to him and see what he'll offer our North Carolina folks.
That'd be
all
great.
Right. I love it. You know what else I love, you guys? As you might guess, I love the STEM Yard podcast. I love that we're able to give such great behind the scenes information to the North Carolina Science Olympiad community. I love being a part of it and getting a chance to work with awesome folks like Lisa and Jason and Valerie, our producer, who make the STEM Yard possible every week. So I hope you guys out there are listening to the STEMyard podcast, we've got a lot of back episodes in our catalog that you can go back and listen to. If you haven't already, please give us that 5-star rating on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, right? It brings a tear to my eye every time I see a good review. What I want to talk about right now is our poll. We asked if you had already listened to the Division A launch party STEMyard episode. And about 2/3 of you, 68%, said, no, you haven't listened to it yet. So, Lisa, sell them on the podcast. Tell them they got to go listen.
Okay, to their defense, it only came out like 2 hours ago.
I've already listened to it 7 times.
So maybe they're going to listen to it after this because they just haven't had a chance to yet, right?
Right.
I think it's quite entertaining. So I think it might be the most entertaining podcast to date. So I highly recommend that you check it out. I mean, we're no actors or anything, but we're really
Definitely
trying.
not. Definitely not.
It features all of us in some way.
That's exactly right. We do have some great special guest stars in
Yes, we do.
launch party episode. So be sure to be on the listen out for them. The link to the Division A launch party episode will be in the video description. So after we're done today, make sure that you go take a listen. And then, like I said, go back and listen to those old episodes too. Just put them on in your classroom. Your students will love it. All right. So we got a few more questions here from the folks who are watching. Let's start with a really basic one. When will teams know about the tournament dates? When are they going to be posted?
Oh, that's pretty important, isn't it? We have a whole list of tentative tournament dates in the works. We're a little bit restricted by school sites, right? Especially their spring schedules in terms of gym access and stuff like that. So we are really waiting for the back to school season to pick up so that we can have access to those calendars. But as soon as a date is confirmed, we will post it to the tournament page on the website. The goal is they're all going to be up and confirmed and posted by September 1st, because that's when team registration opens. That's the goal, which is really coming up quickly. Now that I say that out loud, that's like 2 weeks away, right?
Pretty soon. That's right.
So listen, we want those dates confirmed as quickly as you do. So as the moment they're confirmed, they're going to be up available to you.
Very good. Okay. Here's the next question. And Jason, maybe you can help us with this one. Can you talk about how the scoring will be for the Clue into Science event? For example, folks asked if the team guesses after the first clue and they're incorrect, is there a penalty?
No, there's not, except for the fact you don't get 4 points, right? So if you guess it on the first clue, you get 4 points. If you guess it on the second clue, you get 3. If you guess it on the third, you get 2. If you guess it on the fourth, you get 1. And if you don't guess it, you get 0. So you're only really getting points for getting it on those, either on the first, second, third, or fourth clue, kind of in that order. But there's no penalty at all for, other than the fact that you're not getting points. So I guess that's in a sense a penalty. But that's all. That's how it works. There are 100 scientist names. So I know somebody asked about, that's kind of a big list. But you have to remember there are a lot of teams, and we have to be able to distinguish, first place through let's say we have a team that has 30 teams in it. We've really got to be able to make sure we have enough clues so that people aren't getting, everybody's not getting perfect scores. Usually in Science Olympiad, it's hardest to distinguish between your best teams and your worst teams. And so, hopefully, we'll see how it works this year. With the number of clues that we have, but we felt like 100 names really gives us an opportunity to distinguish and be able to rank teams from first to last. Of course, we do have the points in there as well. But I think 100 scientists is reasonable. Maybe for a 5th grader or 6th grader, maybe not put your 3rd graders into an event like that. But hopefully they can, read about these scientists, learn great things about them, and be able to guess these clues. So hopefully that works out. Hopefully everybody understands the scoring there. Again, read the rules very close now that they've been released. We did work hard. If you see something in any of the rules that are wrong or incorrect, please let Lisa know so she can fix it. And or if you have any clarifications or questions, we're human, we're not perfect. We do our best to come up with rules that are fun and engaging, but sometimes we also have to figure out how we're going to score them. But at the same time, we just need your help in reading them. And if we do see an error, we'll issue a clarification and make sure everybody's aware of that when they come in.
So Jason, related.
Two things. Can I add something to that real quick?
Of course.
Sorry, Alonzo. Specifically for Clue into Science. First of all, we are going to put out a sample video of how to fill out the score sheet, because that's new and different. So we're going to make sure we demonstrate that for y'all. That's coming up. And then the second thing about Clue into Science, we went back and forth on if spelling counts, if spelling the name if they have to spell the name correct to get it right. At the end of the day, we decided that spelling does not count, because ultimately we want them to know the scientists. It's not necessarily a spelling bee, right? But then the question comes up of how close do they have to spell it correctly to get it right, right? So what we're going to do is and I always did this as a teacher, like I told my kids, like, if I know what you're trying to say, I'll give you credit for it. So we're going to tell our event leaders, like, if they're getting it pretty close and the name they're trying to say, count it correct. And that's pretty much the best we can do on the spelling. If you've looked at some of those names, they're tricky, right? And I just can't in good faith expect elementary kids to spell all of those names correctly. It's not a spelling bee. We want them to know and understand the scientists and their contributions. So, but that said, I would highly encourage your kids to spell as accurately as they can, because it will increase their chances of getting it right. I hope that makes sense.
Sure. What about things like just the last name? Do they need both parts or all the parts of a person's name?
They do. I think it says first and last to get points. Yep. First and last. That's right. First and last name must be written legibly. Oh.
Unless their name is Pythagoras and they don't have a first and last.
Oh, this is true. That's true. It says written legibly, y'all. So tell your children that they have to say, whoever has the best handwriting on the team should do the writing, because for sure, if the event leader can't read it or it's illegible, they're not going to spend time trying to figure it out. So good handwriting will take you places in life for sure.
Very nice. All right. We got another poll result in, y'all. This one had to do with our theme. We asked if folks knew what the theme was. And yes, 63% of the folks watching the video today knew what our theme was. Lisa, give it to them one more time for the 36% who don't know.
I'm not gonna.
Oh, there you go.
Because I'd be stealing some thunder from the podcast. I gotta listen to the podcast.
You want to know the theme.
Podcast.
That's right. Podcast is right there. The theme is right in it. It's right there
for you.
Okay, so we've got a few more questions here that we want to make sure that we cover. Here was one that came through in the chat. Oh, actually, Lisa, let me ask you about Clue into Science really quick before we move on.
Okay.
I want to ask you this from your coach's perspective.
Okay.
You see a list like that. Jason was talking about how, the list is long because it helps, kind of striate the teams, right? But you're a coach and you see that big long list and you're already doing a bunch of other events. Like, how would you approach it? How would you, maybe break that up? How do you prioritize things?
I would break it down for them. I might not present that entire list to them on the first day. There's a lot of time between now and your competition that you could break it into smaller pieces, give them 5, give them 10. And not only that, but I would give them like categories. Like to help guide their research, right? If you just say, here's this person, go research them, a 3rd, 4th grader is going to look at you like, that's wide open. So I would say, give them like a little chart to fill out for each person and say, their biographical information, their accomplishments, their scientific impact, their field of science, those kind of things. Give them some categories to work with. And then once they've mastered that and they've gone through the whole list, then you could really send them off to explore the fine details of those people. But you're going to need to offer some structure there for them, especially up front. Yeah.
Really great advice. Thank you. Okay. All right. Now we're going to switch gears just a little bit to talk about the tower and the bridge events. Someone asked the question, is the loading block and chain the same for the tower and for the bridge?
It is. Yes, it is. And we actually added a picture of how the testing structure, what the testing structure looks like to the rules this year, because that sometimes is a struggle for teams when they're building their tower or building their bridge. They forget that they have to leave space for that loading block on top, and the chain has to come down through the center of your structure. So we added some pictures in there with some labels to try to make that as clear as possible. And if you can get your hands on a loading block and chain from our store, or even make one yourself, maybe we should put out an instruction video on how to make one because it's super easy. I feel like you need to have that in order for the kids to at least test a few towers in advance. And you don't need to have the whole fancy like PVC setup with the testing board and stuff like that to test it. You really just need like shimmy two desks close together, right? Make sure they're a certain distance apart, put your tower on there, put the chain on, hook a bucket to the bottom. And, we use sand to test, but my kids in the past have used water, the water hose outside, and just gently squirted the water in there until you get to a certain weight. So you can be pretty creative on how you test that. Have them break a few, right, before they come to competition, because so many kids come to competition, they've never broken a tower before. This is literally their first one. And you could tell, give them that experience and let them test it out numerous times in advance, because then they'll get used to the stress, first of all, of watching it like crumble under pressure, and then maybe crumble under pressure too. But let them experience that in advance. And in order to do that, I think you have to have the loading block and the chain at least. And then you can be creative on the rest of the setup. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen a couple questions in the chat about scholarships for team registration. I know that is an important question for a lot of teams across North Carolina. Lisa and Jason, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we definitely do. And again, this is just our efforts to get to make this as accessible to as many as possible. That's the ultimate goal. But we've posted already a form to fill out for certain scholarships. They're available for certain counties in North Carolina. So take a look at that. I know it's up on our social media. I think it's on our website as well. So go ahead and look and see if your county's on the list. And if so, and you need that support, definitely fill out the form for us.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. We had another poll. Valerie posted it right on the video, and the poll related to the numbers that you're seeing above us here in the video. Let's see if I can point to mine. There we go. Can I point to it? There it is, right there.
I don't know where mine
over
is.
There.
Am I pointing to it? Is this it?
You're pointing at it. That's it. All right. It looks like most of you got this right. The number relates to our years involved in the North Carolina Science Olympiad program here. Now, I have, been sort of tangentially involved, but my official capacity has only been the last couple of years. That's why I got that little tiny 2 there.
Got a little baby too.
I'm proud of my 2. I'm proud of it. All right.
We have adopted you, Alonzo. You are on our team now forever, for sure.
Thank
Jason,
you.
Wow, you've been around a while. You're a little old.
Yeah, I just chatted, but I'm old.
You are wise,
right.
Jason. You're wise.
Jason's Science Olympiad year has a 401k. That's amazing.
I wish it did, man. I was just thinking back then.
Okay, very good. All right. So I know that some of you are watching because you're super excited to know if you were the winner of some of our giveaways. I think I'm gonna make you sweat it out just a little bit longer We're
I
gonna
like it.
go through one or two more questions here before we start going through those. But
Is that the
stay
only reason
tuned.
they're watching? Just
Oh
for the
my
giveaway?
gosh. I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they are here for this awesome, awesome information that they are getting.
Thank
And
you.
again,
Awesome.
remember, you can never get enough of seeing Jason Painter live and in color right on your screen.
I'm just happy he wore the right color shirt because I thought he was going to drop the ball on that one today, but here he is. He did it.
Yeah, I remember to wear red, so I'm not too old yet.
Yeah, good job, Jason. Way to set the bar high. Okay.
I see Michelle's lead. Yeah, it'd be fun to have the coaches put in the chat their years too. Like Michelle
Oh,
Lee
that
just
would be
said, she's
fun.
13, so that's cool.
There you go.
13 years is awesome, man. Great job, Michelle.
Yeah, you have us beat. You have me beat.
That is awesome. That is awesome. All right. So we've talked about safety. We've talked about kind of some good rules of thumb. And so let me ask some technical questions. For Division A, are there any events where the device will need to be impounded? And can you kind of talk through that if there are?
Not this year, which
there you go.
I think is a great choice for Division A because if you're a coach of Division A, you know herding those cats can be a little tricky. So adding in an additional morning, if you don't know what impound is, basically it's an additional time block in the morning where the kids need to go and drop off their devices, check them in with the event leader, and then they kind of house them there until it's time for them to compete. But it's an additional stressor, I would say, on teams sometimes because you've got to get kids there really early and you got to make sure they have all their stuff and you have to make sure they check it all in and not forget anything because if you don't impound it, you can't use it. So we actually have eliminated impound for elementary in hopes that will make everyone's lives a little easier and not start their day off as a ball of stress because we want this to be fun for them and have them ease their way into it, not be rushing somewhere with a box of tools at 7 a.m. Yeah. Good question.
All right. Jason, I want to know something from you. How do I?
It's never a good sign.
It is tournament day, and I'm there for thrill seekers. Things have been going well, but I'm trying to make sure I'm prepared for everything. What is the main thing that you would tell me if I want to maximize my chance for success on tournament day?
Oh, I thought we were going something with thrill seekers, right? Like, so the maximize your success on tournament day is to prepare prior to the day before tournament day. Right? I mean, that's the key, right? Preparation. It's just like if you're studying for an exam, how do you maximize your success to do well on exam? It's not to study the night before. I have 5 kids. I tell them this all the time, but it doesn't sink in, as I know many of my coaches and teachers can attest to. They want to wait till the night before to do everything. And so, I would really, and I'll say Cara McLaughlin is awesome. And the guide that she created for coaches that is awesome. That was in kind of the opener that you saw. Download that. There's great tips in there about creating a schedule, check-ins, making sure that kids are not waiting to the last minute to be successful. I'll tell you this, the greatest regret is sitting during the closing ceremony when everybody else are getting medals and trophies. Look, those kids worked hard, and they've worked hard all year. And the worst regret for a kid and a coach is to think, man, I could have done so much better. I would have, and a lot of times it comes down to if I had one more week, or if I had 2 more weeks, or if I had one more day, or even another 24 hours. We're always somewhat going to feel like that. But hey, start now, start early, get a schedule going, work with your teammates, pull together, hold each other accountable. So on the day of the tournament, you feel ready, prepared, and you won't have that feeling of sinking regret at the closing ceremony.
I would also add to that, check behind them. They're kids. They're elementary kids. They need you to hold their hand a little bit. As a coach, I would always have my backpack filled with pencils and safety glasses, extras of everything, because you can sit down with them the day before and have them pack their stuff and right in front of you. and they show up the next day and they somehow have lost the 5 pencils that you've given them. So, your preparation as well, be there for them as their safety net, because we want them to have a good experience doing this. And you don't want to be that person who's running across campus handing safety glasses out of the car window. That was me. Just try to set them up for success as much as you can so they have a good experience.
Very good. Great advice. Great advice from 2 longtime experts here. So, all right. I know you've been waiting. Let's give the first result of our giveaway. Okay.
I'm so excited.
We have a bag of North Carolina Science Olympiad swag. It's going to have all kinds of stuff in it. I don't know what it is. I'm sure producer Valerie will reach out to you to make sure that it's got some cool things in it. But I'm very excited to be able to say that bag of swag is going to Anderson Elementary School. So congratulations, Anderson Elementary School. You all are getting an awesome bag of Science Olympiad swag. Very cool.
That's awesome. Congratulations, y'all.
All right. We're going to do a question in between here, and then we'll announce our next giveaway. Okay, that's right. You gotta wait for it. So, excuse me. 2 students on a team for each event, right? That's how it's structured. How does that work when students are doing a test? Do they work together on it? Do they take it on their own? Like if it had multiple pages, can they split it up? How do you do that?
Yeah, that strategy for sure. So yes, there's 2 kids on a team and they're taking the same test, 1 copy of the test, working on it together. They can absolutely strategize on that and divide and conquer. If they want to split it in half, one person takes this section, one person takes this section, depending on their strengths. They can swap and check over each other's work. There's a lot of strategy that you as a coach can talk to them about. You can take it apart. I know Code Busters is a popular one that kids have to divide and conquer or they can't get it done. So you can take the staple out and take it apart and separate it. I would just be kind to the event leaders and ask them first, say, are you okay with us taking the test apart? They usually say yes. And then if you do take the staple out, just restaple it when you're done. Just be kind to our event leaders and try to help them out a little bit when you're finished. I also want to mention, kind of related, kind of not related, station events. Practice station events with your kids. So they're moving from station to station and they're timed, let's say 4 minutes per station. Elementary kids need to practice that, because if they get thrown into a station event and they're not used to that, they're expecting just a sit down, don't move kind of test. And now all of a sudden you're throwing them into a move from station to station and you only have 3 to 4 minutes to answer questions. That's very stressful for them. So practice in advance. Know that, teach them the strategy of, like, you might not be starting at question number 1. Like if you're starting at station 5, you might be starting at question 25, and you need to make sure you're putting your answer in the right place on your answer sheet for that event. And then when you get to the last station, you got to rotate back to station number 1. So the things that you should talk through with your kids in advance will be hugely helpful, because a lot of our elementary events this year will be station events.
That's awesome advice. And I hope that folks, even if you know that there are coaches out there who weren't able to be with us live today, make sure that you tell them, come back, watch the video, get some of this great advice from the folks who've been there and who know the best way to approach this. So please make sure that you share the video with your fellow teachers, your fellow coaches, so that they can get this really good information too. All right, let's go back to our giveaways and let's announce our last 2 prizes. Jason, you're up next.
I'm up next.
That's right.
Are you paying attention?
You're going to announce our team event supply kit.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I got to find my start. I didn't know I was announcing something else.
Yep.
So this supply kit, it's obviously not ready today, right? So this is going to come out sometime in October. We'll get it to you in October, but we're going to pack a lot of goodies in there, things that you would need for certain events. For example, like a loading block and chain would be a great thing to throw in there. So supplies that'll help you get started with various events.
That
If
sounds
I'm reading
awesome.
this right, correct me if I'm wrong, because I hate to announce the wrong school. My goodness.
Nobody
Grove
wants
Park
to do that.
Elementary School.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Congratulations, Grove Park
I just-
Elementary School. Yes, you are getting a team event supply kit that, as Lisa mentioned, will go out around the end of October. So be on the lookout for that. And of course, make sure that you email Valerie. And her email is vabass@ncsu.edu. Make sure you email our producer, our marketing director, Valerie Bass, after this. Don't leave right now to go do it. Make sure you email her after this to make sure that we get that prize to you. All right. We've got one more prize. This one is
it's a big one.
A big one. That's right. So, of course, for a big prize, we've got to let our executive director, Lisa Giacomelli, announce the winner of our waived conference registration fee.
Big deal. It's a big deal. And this person can choose, right? I know. And this person can choose if they want the in-person experience or if they want the virtual experience. Your choice. Are we ready?
I am so ready.
Where's the drum roll? Like, how's that? Does that work? All right. For our conference registration fee, it's going to Irwin Elementary School.
Yay!
Did I say that right? Irwin? Am I saying it right? Irwin? I think so.
Sounds right to me.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Please correct me when you email us if I'm wrong, because I want to make sure I get it right.
Even if we're not,
It's always the worst.
Right.
It's always the worst feeling after the award ceremony or closing ceremony, and this team won a lot of awards, and you said their name wrong like 50 times, and they come up to you after the fact and say, "By the way, the way you say this name is," and you're like, "Oh,
you're like, it's terrible."
We do our best.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yes, we do.
And that's amazing. And yes, please email us afterwards so that we can keep you on our radar.
All right. So we've got our 3 big winners today. Anderson Elementary School, the awesome bag of swag. Grove Park Elementary School, the team event supply kit, and Urban Elementary School, that waived conference registration fee. Congratulations to our 3 winners. Now, we've kept you here today. We've answered a bunch of questions. We're really excited to be moving into the Division A season. Lisa, do you want to leave them with some final thoughts before we say goodbye to the folks watching us live today?
I would love to. So first of all, I feel like there's a lot of questions we didn't get to. And just know that we have taken notes and we have a big long list of questions that we would love to answer for y'all at some point. So I just want to say, like, if you have questions on anything, please reach out to us. One of our goals is to be as supportive and communicate with y'all as much as possible. So if you didn't get answers to your questions today, send them our way and we will make sure to do a follow-up either on our social media or in our newsletter. We're always open to answering questions. I'm so excited. This is going to be an amazing season of North Carolina Science Olympiad. I hope you feel the love. I hope you feel like you're part of this community, and we're just so excited that you're in this with us, and we're looking forward to it.
Jason?
Yeah, first off, just thanks for showing up. This really helps. The more that you're in the know, the easier it is for us. As Lisa said, we probably didn't get to all of your questions. I did see someone say something about having a all you need kit. That'd be pretty cool to try to figure out how to put something together like that, especially for, I think, new teams. But anyway, loved all the chat online. Thank you so much for the 13% that said you came to see me. I might have been one of those votes, just to say, but I really appreciate that, and I was included in the all the above. So I'm good for the rest of the day. After this, I'm just going to take off and enjoy the fact that some people love me in the state. No, but I just want to say so much thanks to Valerie and Lisa. They are just doing an amazing job with the Science Olympiad, with all this stuff. This is not easy to put together. Valerie makes it look easy. Alonzo makes it look easy. Alonzo's done such a great job with the podcast and finding everything out Olympiad over the last 2 years, even though it's 2 years. He's learned so much, and it's such a great resource and asset to the Olympiad and to the Science House, as is Lisa and Valerie. So thanks to them, and also thanks to you great coaches out there for the work that you're doing. It makes a huge difference in these kids' lives. So sometimes it feels like a thankless job. We understand that, but we're here to support you and help you in any way we can. So good luck for the upcoming year. Let us know all the questions you have. Lisa will be on giving you her debriefs and answering other questions as they come along.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you so much, Lisa. Teams, coaches, players, thanks so much for joining us here today. We'll make sure that we stay in touch with you. And if you have questions, be sure to email us, reach out. We love hearing from you. You guys are the reason that we do all of this. And we want to make sure that you have the most successful season that you can here in the 2023-24 season. So that's it. Division A, it's officially launched, Lisa. We're
That's
here.
It. We're doing it. We're doing it. Let's go.
All right.
Let's go.